Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Trine Kopstad Berentsen, and on behalf of the Norwegian Solar Energy Cluster, I would like to welcome you to the international part of our conference, Powered by the Sun. We enjoyed a great session yesterday when we learned about the growth potential and the promising perspectives for this amazing industry. Today, we have another great lineup of speakers, sharing global perspectives, market updates on solar energy, reflections of what role Norwegian industry can take in this growing business, and finally, we get to know some of the exciting companies we have established here in Norway today and that are already international players. We will finish today's program with a keynote from the International Energy Agency Chief Economist Laszlo Varro, when the audience have the opportunity to ask questions through our chat. And when done with today, if you're still hungry for more, we have a webinar at 4 o'clock that we are hosting in collaboration with UNS starting at 4. It is my great pleasure to introduce the moderator of today's conference, Ms. Tina Saltvedt, Chief Analyst, Sustainable Finance with Nordea Bank, who will guide you through today's program. So please, Tina, the floor and the screen is yours.
Thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I can't think about a time of the year. It's better to actually have a conference about energy and the sun. Today, we are very close to the day where the night is much, much longer than the day. We could hardly see the sun. So let's get some inspiration from today's speakers. And starting off this seminar today, we are honored to have the State Secretary, Lars Andreas Lunde, with us. He's the State Secretary actually for 2 different ministries. First, the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy, and then the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Fisheries. We are now looking forward to hear his presentation about Norway, a leading exporter of energy competence and technology. Perspectives and opportunities for the solar energy. So please, Lars Andreas.
Thank you very much, Tina, and thank you very much for the invitation to speak here at this conference, which is an impressive gathering, both of the Norwegian solar energy cluster, but also with a prominent international attendance. So I will start this presentation with a global perspective, as the climate challenge and the energy transition are topics on the top of nearly any agenda in the world today. Of course, now in the short run, the world is occupied with a terrible COVID-19 pandemic, which is hopefully a short-term challenge. But looking beyond that, we have to bear in mind that the main challenges that the world is facing in a medium to longer-term perspective, and not lose that in mind, even if we are just at the moment is preoccupied with the current pandemic crisis. And the major challenge really facing the world today, if you look in a longer or medium-term perspective, is how to meet the dual challenge of meeting the global demand of energy, especially in developing countries, while at the same time reducing our emissions of greenhouse gases in order to combat global warming. We need to have economic growth and energy in a developing world to meet the challenges of sustainable growth, of combating poverty and so on, but at the same time we have to combat global warming, otherwise it's impossible to meet the other challenges. And energy is key for economic development, and the world needs more energy. We have to remember that in the world today, it is still 1 billion people without access to electricity. And living in a country like Norway, it's easy to take that for granted, but we have to think about how much we need electricity for our everyday work, for lighting, for heating or cooling, for transport, for cooking, not least. So electricity is key to global development in developing world, and that this electricity has to come from renewable energy sources. Renewable energy is clean, it's sustainable, and it has to play an even more important role in a future global energy mix. Today, renewable energy accounts for nearly 25% of the global electricity production. However, wind power and particularly solar energy is growing fast. And this is easy to understand. solar energy is quick to install, it is scalable, and the costs are falling. This makes it competitive in the energy market. And solar energy is found almost anywhere. It's a bit hard to sell that today in a bleak December Oslo day, but usually solar energy is found everywhere, and of course especially in more tropical countries and developing countries. But not least, solar energy is excellent for a decentralized electricity supply. And developing countries can benefit from this, as in some cases by leapfrogging the need to build central grids like we have done in developed countries. And especially, of course, this is important in countries which have a lack of cheap capital available. But finally, the solar energy industry is a large industry employing more than 4.5 million people, according to IRENA, which is a potential for even higher growth. And then I will go from these global challenges or global prospects and turn our attention to Norway. And Norway has long traditions, and we have top of the world expertise as an energy nation. This is not only in oil and gas, but also in renewable energy. And we have indeed in Norway excellent renewable resources. Today, about 73% of our total energy consumption is covered by renewable energy, and the largest bulk of that is, of course, flexible hydropower. But we also have seen substantial additions of wind power the last years. And with our large storage reservoirs of hydropower, we are well placed in order to accommodate intermittent power from solar PV, though it currently makes a modest contribution to our power supply. But we see, however, an interesting development when it comes to solar PV in buildings as well as in households. And in addition, we have a solar energy sector employing close to 2,000 people, which is actually slightly more than onshore wind. So with this starting point, I will ask, can Norway develop an export cluster within solar energy? The roadmap Sun Towards 2030, which was presented at this conference yesterday, draws up very interesting perspectives on the scale of solar power and how important this sector can become in the next decades, both in terms of jobs as well as when it comes to turnover. This roadmap provides input to the important work that we do here in the ministry. And also the industrial opportunities are here. I mentioned that Norway's expertise in energy, but this is not only have expertise in energy. Over the years, we have also built a global process and metal industry, which in an area we also are among the world leaders. And this industry is important to produce clean silicon, which is, as you know, an essential material in solar panels. And we also see interesting developments related to batteries, both in technologies and also plans for production facilities here in Norway. And finally, I would say that our solar power cluster has a substantial foothold already in international markets. When it comes to equipment, installation and investments in projects abroad, companies like REC, Norsun and Scatec Solar are well-known companies. And major energy players such as Equinor and Statkraft are now developing solar powers in international markets. I also noted interesting projects coming from floating solar PV, which Norway can build on our competence and experience from other offshore activities. So this development is a part of a bigger picture confirmed in a recent report from you at Multiconsult, which shows that solar power grew both domestically and internationally with a total turnover of 6.3 billion Norwegian kroner. So ladies and gentlemen, the potential to develop an export cluster is here. The next question is how the Norwegian government can facilitate this in order for this industry to reach its potential. Firstly, my ministry has recently started to work on a white paper on long-term value creation from the Norwegian energy sources. We want to present to the Parliament our views on how our vast energy resources, including oil, natural gas, but not least renewable sources, will continue to contribute to economic growth, to welfare and to jobs. Secondly, the government has a strong focus on research and development. So the industry can innovate and it can cut costs. This is essential in order to be both competitive and to gain market shares globally. Solar energy is a prioritized area in our national strategy for environmentally friendly energy called Energy 21. And the Energix program includes several projects within solar energy, both for materials in solar cells and also to operations of large solar plants. And not to forget the Research Center for Solar Technology, the FME Sosultech, with the Institute for Energy Technology as a hosting institution. And finally, this is about assisting our export-based solar energy companies. As we have a number of export-oriented policy instruments like Innovation Norway, we have GIEC, we have the Foreign Service, as well as Norway and Export Credit Norway, which are speaking later today at this conference. And even if Norway is a relatively large player in energy, working together is important to be competitive in the global market. The government's export action plan, which was launched in early October, presents the government's ambition to increase the export from the Norwegian industry in all sectors, but also highlighting the need for more exports from new sectors like solar energy. So dear friends, to conclude, the sun is rising, even it's a bit dark outside now. And the government will support energy and solar industries by laying the foundation to support research and development and export institution. So now it's up to you. I hope the Norwegian solar energy cluster will continue to grow, both national but also globally, thus securing jobs and value creation in Norway. And not least, at the same time, we are solving present issues related to the energy transition and our climate efforts. So thank you very much for your attention and all the best for also the rest of the conference today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lars Andreas Lunde. And it was very interesting that the Norwegian government want to support this development further. Not at least because we need to create new jobs, and it might actually create up to 10,000 new jobs within 2030.